never going to achieve big if you don't think big. And I've got an idea that I'm going to put forth today that is admittedly really big, but hey, conceptually anyway, you got to start somewhere. Good morning to you. Good Wednesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Pirates. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or hockey, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Penguins in the same place that you found this. Corbin Burns, hear me out, okay? This isn't like one of those Greensboro grasshoppers putting out an invitation to Shohei Ohtani settings that I'm about to lay out here. I actually mean this. I'm not predicting it, not coming close to predicting it, but I mean it when I say that the Pirates should at least make an effort to trade for Burns. For anyone who isn't familiar with the situation in Milwaukee, they've gone from a rotation that was headed by Burns and Brandon Woodruff to a rotation that's almost certainly not going to have either of them in 2024. Woodruff, of course, went down with the shoulder injury, was let go, and Burns has 1 year left on his contract before he becomes a complete free agent. And as of yesterday, there were remarks made from both sides, the team and the player, that that's not gonna get fixed. That it's almost certain that the Brewers will trade Burns this offseason. Now that ends up becoming complex, because the player is going to want to have a contract before his next destination. The team that acquires Burns is going to want to have a contract, more importantly, before his next destination. And the Brewers, who are just division champs, are suddenly going to want to add to a younger core. They're going to want to build with prospects or close to the majors level prospects, while also fully grasping that you're not going to get that much for a guy who's a year away from free agency, even if there's a sign and trade in place. Bottom line, why wouldn't the Pirates be in on this? Burns is 29 years old. He's just had 4 consecutive years in which he was a top 10 Cy Young vote getter. One of those winning the Cy Young. This is an elite pitcher in the game, not yet 30 years old. This is your dream acquisition. If you're the Pirates, you'd be getting someone who's right there in Mitch Keller's age range. You'd be getting someone else to kind of take the pressure off Paul Skeens early. Skeens now slides back to respectfully, a distant number 3 in the rotation whenever he arrives. And from there, as the Brewers themselves just exhibited now for a couple of years, you only need a couple of guys if they're that good. If you have Mitch and a Cy Young guy and Skeens, you almost don't even care who your 4 and 5 are. And suddenly, you're in a scenario where you're not searching for multiple starters and multiple points of hope. You're just getting a guy. And you're getting a guy, by the way, who's durable, who's got no character issues, no nothing, part of a winner up there. And when do you want me to stop? Because they're not going to do it. They're not even going to try to do it because they're the Pirates. I hate to sound every once in a while like, Bill from Blawnox on a talk show. But the Pirates bring that out in you. They bring that out in me. They bring that out in all of us, because there's almost never this sense that, wow, they're really trying. This wouldn't be an acquisition for 2024. This would be an acquisition, depending on how long you would sign Burns for. This would be something that would go 3-4 years down the road, and it would cover the peak of Brian Reynolds' career, Brian Hayes' career, Paul Skeens' career. Termarr Johnson will be along. Henry Davis, Andy Rodriguez. And you want to hear the very best thing about acquiring Burns? As if you'd really need to be sold on this concept? He's pitching coach proof. There's nothing Oscar Marin can do to ruin him. Just like I was saying last year about hitters like Andrew McCutchen and Carlos Santana. Well, why are those guys hitting and the other ones aren't? Because they're hitting coach proof. They're veterans. They're set. They know who they are. They know how to get themselves prepared. They know how to study for a game, how to read hitters' swings, how to adjust when they don't have all of their best material. You don't need a pitching coach. That alone would make him worthwhile. Just place a call, you know? I don't want to hear that they're in the division and the Brewers would never do that. No team ever fears making a trade with the Pirates. Because no team ever fears that the Pirates are going to ever try hard enough to compete that they'd be a threat to them. Well, go ahead and do this. Go ahead and do this. At least give it a shot. Because at least you can scratch that part off the list, the part where nobody thinks you're even trying. And while I'm on it, if you're wondering to yourself, who would they give up? Who would they? Hey, they're the ones with the number 3 or 4 ranked farm system in all of baseball, right? They're also the ones who have no idea how to develop these players. So you trade them while they are still assets before they're ruined by either Marine or Andy Haynes and getting to Pittsburgh. Eureka! When we come back, J1Q. This portion of Daily Shot of Pirates is brought to you by our friends at North Shore Tavern. That's directly across Federal Street from PNC Park. It's home of Steak on a Stone, an eating experience, underscoring the word experience. The steak is brought to you partially cooked on an 800-degree stone, and you do the rest. It's a ton of fun, it's a great meal, and it's a baseball atmosphere like no other in Pittsburgh. North Shore Tavern, right across Federal Street from PNC Park.
Your front door, your car, your bike, your computer, your gun. Safety is a habit. Every day you lock and secure your home and everything you want to keep safe. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Visit ProjectChildSafe.org. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Today's J1Q comes from Peter, who says, I don't understand, DK, how the Pirates can expect fans to care when it's looking like another offseason of no real additions, just more Rich Hill types instead of any difference makers. As fans, why should we believe this offseason will be different than any other one? Peter, you're free to believe whatever you want. I never tell anybody or even advise anybody on how they should feel about anything. That said, yesterday, I brought up the Cardinals signing Sonny Gray and mentioned that Gray is someone who very easily could have been, should have been, someone on the Pirates' radar if they were serious. And there's no evidence, none, that they were in on him. And that's not okay. That's not okay. Even if he's someone that you wouldn't have liked at the price that the Cardinals ended up paying, which, by the way, was 3 years and $75 million. And it was learned last night that was backloaded, meaning $10 million in the first year and the rest pushed back. That's doable, you know, because there are ways out of that contract if you don't like it. But what I didn't want to do with that episode, and I could tell from some of the reaction that I got, that I did, at least in the eyes of some, was to set off this idea that every single player who signs somewhere else is is someone who the Pirates could have and should have gotten. I actually prefaced the episode by stating exactly the opposite. I made clear that it's not my stance that every single guy falls into that category, and that I don't like bringing up subjects like that as a result. The gray one hit me because I think he is, no pun intended, the gray area that you're looking for in free agency. But as I pointed out in today's lead segment, there are other ways to acquire the kind of talent that you want. You can post for one of these Japanese stars. You can do that. There's no baseball law prohibiting the Pirates from participating in this stuff. Just as there's no baseball law prohibiting the Pirates from talking to the Brewers about Corbin Burns, or from talking to the Blue Jays about Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Wherever there is any kind of smoke, the Pirates should be part of that smoke, if not necessarily the fire. Are they in on Joe Musgrove with the Padres? Padres are moving everybody. I don't expect them to be in on Juan Soto. I do expect them to be in on starting pitchers and on players that look like they could be fair value. Note that I don't use the word bargain. Fair value. You have to be able to pay fair value for a position or player of need in order to compete and contend. And yet again, that doesn't have to be through free agency. You don't have to go after a 34-year-old Gray. You can go after a 29-year-old Burns and do it in a different way, in a different context. You're giving up something else in addition to the money. Or if you value the prospects and for some insane reason think that you've got the staff to develop them into something significant at the big league level, then you go ahead and spend more money and offer less or nothing in baseball capital. Some would call that hoarding prospects. Some would suggest that maybe the pack of prospects that are there are being grossly overestimated by national experts. But one way or another, you've got to start making moves. This is year 5. They can't revise the calendar to their liking. They can't kick the can any further down the road. This is year 5. They've got to make real moves to make the team really better, and they've got to do it this winter. It can't be crossed fingers, especially not where the starting pitching is concerned, and especially not after Johan Oviedo goes down and half a dozen other guys have had Tommy John. You've got to go and get yourself some serious starting pitching. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everyone listening to Daily Shot of Pirates. I'm going to do another one of these tomorrow.